Good morning, this is Tim McGowan for the Finance News Network. US equities were higher in Thursday trading, closing near their best levels. US equities rallied for the second day in a row after the latest GDP showed a second straight contraction, as investors bet the economic downturn would soon cause the Fed to end its aggressive rate hiking campaign. On the data front, second quarter GDP dropped at a 0.9% annual rate, which is the second consecutive quarterly drop for GDP and likely to spark continued discussions of recession possibilities. Most economists still don't think the US economy meets the formal definition of a recession, but the data leaves little doubt that the recovery is losing momentum amid rising interest rates, high inflation and anemic consumer spending. News of the back-to-back contractions heightened a debate in Washington over whether a recession had begun. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said that Thursday the US economy is in a state of transition rather than recession, despite two consecutive quarters of negative growth, an historical measure of a recession. Recession, Yellen insisted, is a broad-based weakening of the economy that includes substantial layoffs, business closures, strains in household finances, and a slowdown in private sector activity. Seems like a definition of a recession is about to become a political football. The Dow Jones jumped 1%. The blue chip index added about 400 points in the previous session. The S&P 500 rose 1.2% and the Nasdaq Composite added 1.1%. All of the major averages are on pace for a winning week as well as their best month of 2022. All three major indexes have now risen at least 7% from their 2022 lows in mid-June. Earnings results continue to drive a divergence across the sectors. Traders had a deluge of second quarter company earnings to digest on Thursday. Honeywell was up 3.7%, Etsy up 10%. Both reported strong results. Ford Motor climbed 7% after it beat profit and revenue estimates and raised its dividends. A few notable themes in the latest batch of earnings saw Meta Platforms drop 5% on the back of disappointing quarter numbers, with guidance matching concerns about multiple headwinds on digital advertising. In other news, solar stocks soared after both sides of the US political divide said they've reached a deal on climate spending. Residential solar installers Sunrun, Sunnova are jumping nearly 30% each, with SunPower up 18% and the Invesco Solar ETF added around 7.5%. After the market, results are just out with mixed results. Shares of Amazon surged 12%, despite the tech giant reporting a loss of 20 cents per share for the second quarter. The company's revenue came in higher than expected, however, at $121 billion. This was its slowest growth in nearly 2 decades. Apple beat estimates on the top end and bottom lines for the third quarter, with shares of the tech giant adding more than 3%. Apple aftermarket, the company reported $1.20 in earnings per share on almost $83 billion of revenue. Intel, the chip stock, sank more than 7% after the company missed earnings estimates on the top and bottom lines for the second quarter. Rocco, the streaming stock, dropped nearly 25% after market, with the company missing estimates on the top and bottom lines for the second quarter, with the company citing a slowdown in advertising spending. In the commodities market, iron ore futures are pointing to a 2.7% gain today. Gold jumped 1.8% to $1,769 an ounce. Silver was up 6.8% to almost $20 an ounce. Copper was up 1.3%. Oil lost 0.9%. And on the currency front, one Australian dollar is flat, buying 69.95 US cents. On the SPI futures today, the futures are pointing to a 1% gain. This is Tim McGowan for the Finance News Network. Have a great weekend.